Get pucked.
Hello, Get Pucked listeners. Welcome to another episode of Get Pucked, 37th one to be exact. I want to jump right into it and talk about Mike Hoffman. Recent news has him going up the lineup to the first line with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield. He has pushed down Mike Hoffman back with Kirby Dach and at the moment Jonathan Drouin. Matt, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm going to try to figure out what exactly it is you just said. You said Mike Hoffman pushed down Mike Hoffman and Kirby Dach?
Sean Monahan.
Sean Monahan. Okay.
Sean Monahan.
Now I understand. All right. What do I think about it? Well, I mean, listen. It's not because he deserves it. I think we can all be in agreement that he has not elevated his play, Mike Hoffman, to a point where, yes, he deserves to be on the top line, if you will, with Caufield and Suzuki. This has to be a means to an end. So be it, maybe the coaches are looking to be like, put him in the best opportunity to get something going, play with a dynamic player like Suzuki, can maybe get it work. He does have a dangerous shot, hasn't been very accurate necessarily this year, but now you got two options on both sides, two really great shots. So it is in theory on paper, a very dangerous line, but it's unfortunate because I liked Monahan on that spot. On the right-hand side, I really like that trio. But I mean, if they're looking at it, and I think this is really a testament to what the whole season has been about and will be about development, about growth, not so much about winning games, which I know is kind of a hard thing to hear in a professional sport market and everything. But if the goal is to get the best out of your players, well, you know that line worked with Monahan. It isn't working with Hoffman. You put him on the fourth. You've had him on the second. You've had him on the third. He's been all over the place.
But Monahan also worked with Kirby Dach. And Kirby Dach has been playing well, but statistically has slowed down a little bit.
Exactly. So it could be a little bit of a spark plug there too, a little 2-for-1, and maybe good things will happen. I mean, I don't see Hoffman sitting as a fixture on the top line for a long term. My hope is he's up there. He maybe gets a goal. He maybe gets involved in some sort of score to earn himself a point or two. And then, a little bit of confidence can kind of blossom from that.
I don't like Mike Hoffman going to the first line. Like you said, he doesn't deserve it, but at the same time, I don't know how they're going to utilize him properly on that line when Nick Suzuki plays in the same spot where Mike Hoffman has had the most success, which is on that right side. When you see Nick Suzuki dangling and playing, you see him coming out from the right side of the ice on the offensive zone, and Mike Hoffman has had most of his success throughout his career on that side, and now you're putting him there. I'm not sure how that's going to work. He would probably be better suited to go on the line and stay on that line with Kirby Dach and try to kickstart him that way. Now, are they trying to kickstart him and see if they could spark something on him, or is it a showcase? Either scenario and either way, I don't like it. He shouldn't be on the top line. And if it is to showcase him, I mean, you're really trying hard to try to move this guy, because at the moment nobody wants Mike Hoffman. I'd be very surprised if the team wants Mike Hoffman right now.
But that's exactly it. I think you nailed it perfectly. I mean, if you're even attempting to get him out of there in any way, shape, or form, this management, they're shrewd business guys. They're not going to just unload him for the sake of unloading him. They know that they have a long season and they want to put him in a position to elevate him up as a player, and the perception that the league has of him, to show that this guy can score you goals. He can be a top 9 forward on your team if you're making a playoff push, and get the most and maximize the most out of him.
It's not by putting him on the left defense on a power play that you're going to get that kind of success from him.
Well,
I mean, yes, granted, last game he managed to keep the puck in the zone quite a few times and did well in that regard, but I mean, at the same time, that's not his spot for success. It never has been. He's mostly been successful, like I said, on the right side. Anyways, I'm not the coach. I'm not Marty St. Louis.
And we'll talk about power play in a second. Let's not all put that on Mike Hoffman's shoulders. I mean, the whole power play needs to be taken out back and old Yeller. Something needs to happen there. Because it's bad everywhere.
I don't know, man. Alex Burrows, it's just not working out.
I mean, Burrows has been getting a lot of shit, and rightfully so. Apparently, it's his responsibility, the power play, and clearly one for whatever it is, 17, 18 at this point, good for 31st or 32nd in the entire league. Yeah, he requires a lot of the responsibility, but there's something there. besides the tactics that they're trying to deploy, I mean, is it the combination? Do you have like Wideman? Are you happy with Wideman on the power play? I know that he was kind of good a
I
little while
never
ago.
want to see Chris Wideman on the power play again. The guy is hesitant to shoot to begin with, and at the same time, yes, when you say what can Chris Wideman bring to the table when it comes to the power play? Okay, he can skate, but at the same time, he takes a lot of stupid penalties and he negates power plays. At least last game he did that. I just don't see it. When you're looking at people to play on the power play, I think if you're gonna try to trust somebody or play him out, go with Guhle. Heck, even Xhekaj, if you saw the end of last game, he was ripping shots, trying it out, and it was working. He was keeping it. So I mean, at the same time, go try the kids.
Like,
heck, you want to talk about skating? You're putting Chris Wideman, why? Because he's a veteran, or because he could skate? Jordan Harris could probably skate better than Chris Wideman.
So I said Jordan Harris too. I was talking to some buddies over the last couple of games there and saying, like, I can't understand why they're not giving a shot to the kid, even when Slafkovsky was in the lineup before he got hurt. I mean, I know St. Louis came out. I can't remember the exact quote, but he said a reason why he didn't put him on the power play. I mean, why not at this point? Like, just why not? Just get a different view, get different bodies out there to see if something else can happen. Because it's just, at this point, it's beyond unlucky. You know what I mean? Like, you can go for, a couple power plays in a row, and like, at least you're getting chances and opportunities, and you can be like, listen, they're just unlucky. Anybody with half a hockey brain watches this team on the power play. You know they're going to skate it up. You know they do the pass back as the guy's doing the rush in. The other four guys stand at the line. He comes in, he breaks in. They all do the same setup, and there's something about it when they get in the setup mode that when I watch other power plays and other teams' power plays, when they pass and transition the puck through the zone, there's always a sense of wherever it's going, it could be that moment that they strike. Something about the Habs, I don't understand it. I'm not a coach. I'm not nearly at any kind of professional level of being able to dissect this, but just from a sheer hockey fan point of view, they seem either like very tentative when they're getting the pucks. There's no strike. There's no fear that I can see that anything could happen at any moment. It's slow. They're just slow.
Okay, so you got to think of it this way, right? When you're looking at the first wave of the power play, what threats are there on that first wave? It's Caufield and Nick Suzuki. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you're looking at the rest of the other three players that are on that power play, they're not really a threat. So all you have to do is the opposing team is really put a bit more focus on Caufield and Nick Suzuki,
which they already do.
Granted, Caufield has been successfully seems to find a way scoring a goal, and you're seeing these thread passes that Suzuki's making. But then it's like most recently they'll make a pass and it's to Jonathan Drouin. What do you think Jonathan Drouin is going to do? He's not shooting. He's going to pass again, and then you're going to put Chris Wideman. You're putting Chris Wideman there. And that's not a threat either because he's not shooting. It's been known that he doesn't shoot. Heck, that he doesn't shoot enough. I think there was an interview they were asking him why doesn't he shoot more often, and he had no answer to that. He says, "Yeah, I probably should." So, what are the threats on that power play? Find them
every time you do a pass beyond two passes. If you pass it for the third time, it's a $10,000 fine. Yeah, that's what they should do.
The good teams in the league, okay, the ones that are good on the power play, have multiple scoring threats or multiple threats on that power play line and on that wave, and they're not always as predictable. The Montreal Canadiens right now, in my opinion, are still very much predictable. I know when they're going on the power play, it's like you said, they're going to pass the puck back and someone's going to rush right in, right? It's the same thing. And I know the reasoning why they do that. I get it, but then once you're set up in the opposing in the offensive zone, what does Montreal have? That's the thing. Back then, we used to say, okay, they didn't have a Cole Caufield per se, but they had a Shea Weber. So it was always the same two threats,
from a whole different angle, right? Back from the blue line.
But again, it was still narrowing it down to just two threats.
I agree. The power play's been shit for a couple of years now. Like, let's be real.
Shit since Kirk Muller's been there. Since Kirk Muller was there.
It's been very, very predictable and very bad. Something needs to happen. And I mean, again, I like this whole idea. I don't know if I speak for everybody who's watching the Canadiens and are Canadiens fans, but I like the idea that they were very open and transparent, saying, yes, we're obviously going to try to win games, but the focus, the emphasis is on development. We want to see player and team grow. And they have to acknowledge that this power play is a massive, massive problem for the team. They need to start showing some sort of improvement. Mix it up. Even if it's a disaster, even if you get practically scored on shorthanded each and every time, show the fan base, show yourselves that you're willing to mix it up and try different ways, different tactics. Go back to how it used to be for a little while, where it was always run up and dump it in and chase down the puck. I personally hated that. I hated it.
But you know what?
But dude, they have to do something.
If you had asked me to try out a line or what I would try, and I would try to break it down, like the players that I would have on the ice, my brain, for whatever reason, could break it down as to what their purpose is for the power play.
Yeah.
I would have Suzuki, Caufield.
Well, obviously, yeah.
Josh Anderson.
Fine.
Kirby Dach and Guhle.
Down. I give it a try.
You know, and I have a reason for all of it. So, you know, you have Josh Anderson, who could go and be a net front presence. He's also one that likes to shoot a bit more than he likes to pass.
You have
Kirby
Dach
is very good for forechecking and retrievals. Suzuki's does what he always does on the right side, and Caufield does what he normally does. Those two don't have to change their style. Now I know.
No, I agree. That's
how I see it. And then make a second wave where you have a combination of put Hoffman on the right side, put Dvorak, put Monahan, and start blending that up together. But make sure you have a consistent first wave that's going to play about a minute and a half of that power play.
I'm in complete agreement with you. I mean, I think the bottom line is whatever it is that they decide to do sooner is going to definitely be better than later, because now is the time. You should start tinkering now, so that when you start to develop something on a recipe that starts to look a little bit like it's going to potentially work, you have a long season to keep working on it. You know, it's just so frustrating that already the book is out on the Canadiens after Game 7. You know exactly what they're going to do every power play.
Well, look, when you're looking at the other teams, whether you want to go on daily face-off or left wing walk and go check the lineup combinations, go look at every other team. It's their best players are on the power play. Just put your who you think, identify who you are your best players, and
who are the 5 best players on the Canadiens
the Montreal Canadiens right now?
Okay, well, the first 2 are easy, so Caufield and Suzuki. Who are your next best 3 players on?
Are we talking about forwards or just in general?
It could be anybody that can play on the power play.
I got to give credit that right now Sean Monahan is among them.
Fine, there's 3.
Okay. Kirby Dach, while he's not producing oh my God numbers, he's been playing very well.
He's been playing very well. And listen, he could be in the top 5 in your opinion. Go for it. Okay, so Kirby Dach, who's your 5th best player on the team?
Ooh. At the moment, I've been really liking, and while he's not my favorite player, in a sense, I've been liking how Gallagher's game has been lately.
Gallagher, okay.
He has, but I would give it to a defenseman probably. Right now, it's
Guhle.
I really like how Guhle and Harris are playing. I really like how they're playing. Now, granted, it is 7 games in, so a lot can change for these young guys, but Guhle just seems to be very consistent.
So, for the record, I just want to bring it back because something just clicked. Just for the sake of curiosity, I asked you to name the 5 best players on the team. You went down and told me Suzuki, Caufield, fine. You threw Monahan as the 3rd best. Then you went to Kirby Dach at 4, and you finished it off with Gallagher at 5. Josh Anderson does not crack the top 5 on this team. $5.5 million for another 6 years or 7 years. He is not in the top 5.
I like Josh Anderson.
I'm not saying that you don't like him. I'm saying you don't think he's in the top 5 on the team.
But I'm right. A top 5 on the team. Okay, right now, the way they're performing, I don't put Josh Anderson at the top 5. And that's not to say that he's not performing well for who he is and what he is. I know what I'm getting from Josh Anderson. I know what to expect from him. He's consistently inconsistent. You know, you'll get a couple of games where he's going to score a bunch, and then he goes dry for a while, but he does the same thing.
He's due for one of those games then.
Yeah, he is due. But night in and night out for the last 7 games, Brendan Gallagher has been playing like not Brendan Gallagher of last year, but Brendan Gallagher of old.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
So that's why I'm giving it to Brendan Gallagher. You're seeing he's able to skate and keep up. And okay, we had a little bit of a scare when he crashed into the boards or whatever, but he's being annoying again, and he's being able to play. And you could tell he's in the best shape that he's been in the last 3 years. So that's why I'm giving Brendan Gallagher. But honestly, if you tell me I have to pick between Gallagher and Guhle, I'm picking Guhle because he is very consistent. He's our number 1 defenseman right now, in a sense.
Yeah, but does he have the offensive flair that's required for a power play?
Put him in a position to try. Is he any worse than Chris
Yeah.
Wideman?
Well, I can say he's not worse than anybody who's currently in the power play. They don't score. So what do you have to lose?
So
That's what I'm saying.
Give the kid, play the players that you expect and project to be in your roster, not just for this year, but for upcoming years.
I would love to see, and I think that's exactly a perfect way to look at it. I would love to see when Slafkovsky comes back. I like to see him on a power play unit. I like to see Harris on a power play unit. I definitely want to see Guhle on one. I mean, you can throw Drouin on one of those in the second tier power play. He has a potential to be a guy who can make
I wouldn't put
outstanding plays.
Slafkovsky on the first wave right away.
No, I
want him to work his way up to the first wave.
But
he's
up until this game, he has not taken a power play. I don't believe he's ever been on a power play. How does this guy, out of 10 different players on the team, he's not one of those 10 to be on a power play? That kind of bothered me. And I understand they have reasonings for it. They talked about it. Some, reporters are pretty sharp. They saw that it wasn't happening. They're like, why? So in that regards, I would have liked to have seen it. I mean, you have a team of so many young players, a lot of rookies. You can't afford to shelter everybody. And I don't believe that they are purposefully doing that, but you got to open it up a bit.
We're one of the youngest teams on the ice in the entire NHL. So it's not for not trusting the rookies, because they've got essentially 3 rookies playing defense in the top 6.
They do have 3 rookies playing defense.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Harris played a few games last year, but to me, he's still a rookie, right?
He's a rookie.
So then you have Slafkovsky, who also played a few games up until his minor injury that he had, and so they have the trust is there. Now, for whatever reasons right now, Slafkovsky's not getting on the power play. That's fine. He doesn't have to get on the power play right now. But if you're gonna make 2 pairings and 2 waves and they're both not working right now, you might as well put him on one of them. I would put him on the second and build his way up to the first.
Absolutely. Can he be worse than, for example, a Dvorak, who, as far as I understand,
Dvorak had a very good game though last game.
I'm not saying he isn't trying, and I'm not saying he didn't have a good game last game, which was against the Wild. But the guy has a goose egg in 7 games.
Are you gonna? Okay, he's got.
What do you do with a guy like this?
Right now, it's the beginning of the season, and I know a lot of people. Whoever's going to listen.
8 games in now.
Yeah, but we're 8 games in. So are we saying that we're going to shit on Auston Matthews because he's below a point a game, or how about Jordan Guhle?
Are you saying Toronto's not shitting on Auston Matthews for what his performance is?
Not saying that. Auston Matthews should be more than a point a game, but it's the beginning. Give it some time. There's always situations like that, I
disagree, man.
There are players right now in St. Louis that when you look at their numbers in comparison to last year, you're like, what the hell's going on with St. Louis?
Yeah,
Ryan O'Reilly, Robert Thomas, Jordan Guhle. They're all below 5 points.
But
5 points. So
it's the same. But it's the same argument. I would say the same thing if I was a Blues fan. The same thing I would do if I was a Toronto fan. These guys are not performing. What the hell's going on? What needs to be done to get them rolling?
So some people start slow and pick their game up along the way by games 10, 12, 15.
Some of them have a point in 7 games.
Some players come out very strong out of the gate and then slow down. I mean, heck, Alex Tuck, who's been basically a 40 to 50 point player, has like 8 points in 6 games. You know what I mean? Like it's just
goals. Yeah.
Right. So it's just that these types of things happen.
So you're not worried. You're not worried about Devo.
Christian. No, I'm not worried about Christian Dvorak. Really, I'm not. I know there's people out there that don't like him because of a first round was traded for him and whatnot.
Yeah,
and they're gonna shit on Dvorak.
Forever.
They're gonna shit on me for saying this right now, not being worried about Dvorak. And guys, you're entitled to your opinion on that. Tell me it's game 15, game 16, and Dvorak's got 2 points. Then I'm gonna be like, okay, fine. There's an issue here. There's something, or maybe they just said, hey, Dvorak, this is your role.
Listen.
We want to, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'm not worried yet. But I understand the topic of conversation. I understand the need to talk about it.
You cannot go a 10th of your season without a point. You can't do that.
I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt.
He plays numbers. He's not playing 6 minutes on a 4th line.
No, I know.
He's putting in the time. He's on the ice. So I again, should you bench him? Does that prove a point? Does that get something going?
No.
Do you move the lines around? Like
For what?
what do you do with something
What's
like this?
benching somebody like Christian Dvorak going to do for you? It's not like tell me he's really not performing, or you don't see him on the ice, or better yet, he's not doing anything even in the face-off circle, or he's like he doesn't look motivated to play and he looks like he's just floating around out there. Then I'd say, yeah, okay, what's the point of having him there? You might as well have him in the stands. But I mean, if we're not benching somebody like Mike Hoffman, why am I going to bench Christian Dvorak? And don't tell me it's because Mike Hoffman has a couple of points. Mike Hoffman has a couple of points, but he's supposed to have a few more goals to go with those points.
I'd bench Mike Hoffman too.
I mean, I saw Mike Hoffman going in on a 2-on-1 and do nothing with it. I saw him going in and he was in the slot, and instead of taking a shot, which is his strength, he passed it to nobody. So there in itself, I would have benched him. Christian Dvorak, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt for Devo, because I finally got to see him have his best game of the season last game, and he had good chances. So to me, it was like some of those were good scoring chances, but Fleury stopped them, or whatever the case may be. So I'm not quite worried about Christian Dvorak just yet.
He has 16-24 average time on ice with no goal, no assist. He's a -3. He has 12 shots on goal in 7 games,
which is just below his shooting average. So think about that one for a second. That means he's going to pick up at some point. He's going to at least start shooting a bit more. And that's just below his average.
I mean, so another interesting question that someone mentioned, and you know, it's a head scratcher. You know, do you see Christian Dvorak in the long-term plans of this team?
No.
So what do you do with an asset like this? Because you can't erase people's memories. He was acquired from Arizona for a first, you know, because of the kind of player was. He was in Arizona and he was getting 40-ish points, right? Where's his point totals here? Or close to, you know, 33, 37, 38, 31. And you know, last year he continues to 33. 30. I mean, if you're going to get that many points on the worst team possible, it was not a stretch to assume that this guy could possibly get you 50 points.
He was always on a 50-point pace, never had full seasons. In his entire career in the NHL, he's never completed a season. Okay, granted, his first 2 seasons, he was 4 games short or something like that, but nothing crazy of that nature. And I want to make a slight correction because I just checked. He's within his average in his shooting percentage right now. Okay. So he's always been a 50, but he's never hit the 50 points. Now, we used to always say it was always because he was played for Arizona and played for a last place team. Guess what? He's still playing for a last place team.
But the talent pool on this team is far superior than the talent pool that's on Arizona.
Well,
they could continue to lose as a team, but he can still produce points.
But Christian Dvorak himself, his line mates in Arizona, at times were players like Keller. Then at times it was lower.
Very rarely.
But he
played with shittier players.
You know, the pressure. There's so many reasons, but no, I don't want to seem like a bias towards Devo or a huge fan. Like, I don't care one way or another when it comes to Christian
sounds
Dvorak,
like it.
Whether he's there or not.
Like you're the president of the Devo fan club.
I would have been more concerned about Christian Dvorak if the Montreal Canadiens didn't have other pieces to replace Christian Dvorak. You know, like a couple of years, last year, they didn't have Kirby Dach and Sean Monahan. They only had Nick Suzuki and Christian Dvorak.
Well, and that begs the question, right? I mean, Dvorak is not cheap. He's not cheap.
$4.5 million.
Almost $4.5 million all the way up until 25, 26. So he's around for yet a while. Now, you right away said you don't see him in the long-term plans of this team. That's in the window that this team theoretically should start being competitive.
But I don't see him in the long-term plans, but at the same time, okay, here. If the plan is that that the Montreal Canadiens acquired Sean Monahan and then to trade him again, okay, then they clearly see when you look at the roster as Suzuki's the #1 center, eventually Kirby Dach becomes #2, and Christian Dvorak gets slotted as a 3. Christian Dvorak as a 3C is a good piece. He's a good 3C. He
He's
shouldn't
a
be.
3C right now.
Oh, actually, no. He's been, according to
He's
Daily
a yeah,
Kissel,
he's a 3C now.
He's a 2C.
He
But
is.
just to say that's how they map it out, and that's how you can kind of see how it's playing out, right? So then you have Christian Dvorak as a 3C. I'm okay with that. I had an issue with Christian Dvorak being the second line center of the Montreal Canadiens as a replacement for Phil Deneau. That I had an issue with. While I did see how it could work out that way if all the stars aligned, I never thought it would actually work out that way. So I'm happy that you have somebody like Kirby Dach that they look and say, okay, yes, he's a project in a sense. They're reestablishing his game, and he's reestablishing his game. But they clearly see Kirby Dach to be the future 2C, barring some kind of crazy trade.
Well, yeah,
You know,
that would
Christian
be an
Dvorak
ideal world.
would be the 3C. Now, if they were to somehow, some way, which a lot of people say it's a mistake, and it probably is, if they were to keep Monahan and then ship off Dvorak, then it's a different story. You know, things.
I still think the Monahan thing is going to be. I really do. I think it's going to be a handshake. Thanks. We were happy to help you. You helped us. Go try for a cup, and then come talk to us again. Not a guarantee, but in the off season, come talk to us, and then they see what's up. I cannot see that this management is going to hold on to him
right now. Right now, trading Christian Dvorak while his value is low is not an option.
You can't right now. But that's my point, right? The guy's really causing a problem for the team. He's not producing. He's not helping. He's not. You know what? He's not progressing, and he's not worth anything to trade.
There's other players on this roster right now that are causing more of a problem. In like when you the way you're saying it and the way you're stating it, there are, you got Dadonov, you got Hoffman.
He's gone. He's gone after this year. Hoffman also is gone.
You got those three players. You got those three players, in my opinion, that are. They're bigger problems than Christian Dvorak in my
opinion. I disagree. Because he's around for another at least 2-3 years. This guy is probably slotted in. He was supposed to be a dude who can be a 45, 50 point player. But he still
brings something to the table right now. The rest,
what's he bringing to the table? Cupcakes? Because he's not bringing points.
He's still strong in the face-off circle. He's still strong on the PK. Those things are fine. When you look at Hoffman, what's his strength? He was brought in to be a power play specialist. Sucks. It's not working.
He's not going to be around for much longer.
Hoffman still has another year after this one.
No, Hoffman is going to be traded this year.
Dadonov,
bank on it.
Dadonov, granted, was a move to get rid of the Shea Weber contract, but at the same time, it's still a cap on the roster, and it's weight, and he's at the moment.
Listen, he's
playing on the fourth line.
Yeah, he's sucking. The goal with Dadonov would have been perfect for him to play really well, so that in addition to getting an asset back for unloading the Weber contract, you flip him off again and you get a second or maybe a first if you're wild, like depending how you scored.
No player I've mentioned right now and that we've spoken about in the last 4 or 5 minutes are getting traded for a first round pick.
You know what?
Kent Hughes trades.
Kent Hughes has proven to me he could turn anybody into a first.
The only player that at the moment, with the way they're playing, that has any chance to bring in a first at trade deadline is Monahan. Everybody else, you're even a second round, you'd be lucky. It's all thirds and fourths.
One thing that in particular, if Dave was here, what's up, Dave? Get well soon. He's not feeling too well, so he couldn't join us today. But one thing that Dave mentions all the time is it's unbelievable how bad NHL GMs are.
You're 100% right. Dave's right. There's been some questionable trades over time, but that being said, it would have to take a crazy, insane sell job to move Dadonov or Hoffman for anything more than a second round pick.
I don't disagree. If I were a GM on the other side, I don't disagree.
I could see Drouin kind of because of a reputation, former third overall pick, maybe getting a second. But
one team I can see overpaying for Drouin. Only one.
Who?
Which team? Take a guess. What would be the one team you think that would maybe overpay for Drouin with 1 year expiring left to maybe use him for that instance?
Colorado.
Yes, sir. They're the only ones. Every other team, I don't think would give a first.
Nobody's giving a first. I could see
the relationship with him and McKinnon is the only thing.
Well, there's the relationship there with Ehlers too. So what you're going to say? Winnipeg? No.
No, but I don't think Winnipeg's going to be in the
St.
point.
Louis and Nashville in the past has supposedly showed interest in Dvorak. Could they revisit? Maybe, but I doubt it'll be for
If
first round pick.
I'm in agreement with you though. If these guys don't pick up the pace and don't start putting the puck in the net and actually showing that they have some value, Kent Hughes is going to have a hard time unloading them. But at the end of the day, he will unload them because they're expiring contracts. These guys will not finish this year. There's no way. There's no way. The Dantonov and Drouin for sure won't. Hoffman, I'm fairly comfortable to say that somebody somewhere is going to take this guy. I have a feeling. I don't know what you're going to get for him, but they want him gone.
If somebody takes him right now, let's say he is being showcased
right now, but trade deadline.
Well, let's say he is, because there's scouts watching, whatever the case may be. There are teams out there right now that are looking for a winger.
I heard
because
Anaheim.
of injuries and so on. Montreal, you'd have to think that Montreal's retaining salary for the next 2 years of his contract.
A bit, probably.
They're going to retain. They might have to take a problem back, but
maybe
it's a problem
back. Maybe, but something certainly is going to happen with these guys. I have no doubt. One other thing that I thought was super interesting, because we're kind of coming up on our time here, but I definitely wanted to talk about it. The defense is actually been very surprising. I think we can all agree Guhle is like he's here to stay. He's a stud. This kid is like proving he is ready. Even Harris has a couple of like still rookie mistakes, which is fair, but overall his game is really tight. I mean, he played the most minutes last game.
His hockey IQ
Kid's strong, man,
and he's a
strong player. And of course, fan favorite Xhekaj is doing it all, right? Everybody's talking about the sheriff, Wi-Fi.
You call him Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so he's a great story, but it does beg the question: Edmondson and Matheson are gonna come back. It's inevitable. They're gonna get better. I mean, I don't even want to talk. We'll talk about another time what happens with Armia comes back, which forward comes out of the lineup. That would be fun to see. But these guys are coming back. Eddie's going to be there. Matheson's going to be there. How do you, in good conscience, man, send the kids down? How do you do it?
You don't send them down.
You can't sit Eddie and Matheson.
They're gonna play. You might see somebody like Chris Wideman coming out. You might see situational games where you're going to look at maybe somebody like Kovacevic sitting out, depending on the games that they're matching out. Yeah, maybe. They're definitely not going to sit out David Savard. The guy's been a beast.
No, he's been doing very well.
He's been a defensive beast.
He ain't sitting down. I think
the league in block shots.
You got to look at Xhekaj and say, as much as he's a great story, you can send him to Laval. I don't think it's going to ruffle too many feathers. I think he's really going to help the Rocket, obviously. Not that, there's a lot of care for the Rocket, forgive me, but, whatever. And then, yeah, you're right. I mean, Wideman can be your seventh, and you stick in those two guys because they have to come in. I mean, I saw things. People are out there telling me these guys are going to get healthy and not play. Matheson and Edmondson. You think these guys are going to get healthy and not the lineup?
Matheson's out for a little while longer, so I'm not worried about Matheson because we're talking about it around Christmas time. By the time he comes back,
but he is going to come back.
Eddie comes back, and the only person I see coming out of the lineup at this point is Chris Wideman.
Yeah, well, that's for sure.
Right,
it's more the other side. And I mean, Wideman, yeah, he'll be the seventh and whatever. And then if somebody gets hurt, he comes in.
But Wideman was brought into this team to be the seventh.
I agree.
Or at the very least, he was going to be the sixth guy on the right side. If
But my other thing that I'm thinking about is, okay, so we fixed it, right? Okay, Wideman is your seventh, and Xhekaj is probably your extra guy that gets sent down. It makes sense. He doesn't have to go through waivers. It all makes sense. You still are hearing day in and day out, the Habs are looking for a right-handed, right-side shot. They're still looking.
Well, any general manager who looks at their team, no matter how successful they are, and aren't trying to improve it in any way, they're not doing their job.
Yes, hockey cliche. Yes, I understand that. But they just traded for Beaudin. I mean,
yeah, he's
not coming. Yes, I understand he's going to play for the Rocket. Fine, but let's say they go get somebody who legitimately should be in the top six. Now you've already sent Wideman as your seventh. You've sent Xhekaj down. Now who comes out? You bring out another one of the kids.
Well, no. you have to understand, you got to give to get. So I don't think any of the three that we have in our current lineup would be getting traded away to acquire that right-handed defenseman. The problem is that right-handed D are not easy to come by to begin with, and when you're looking at it, it'd be somebody on the right side that is going to come out. So I know
it's not Savard.
It's not Savard. Savard gets pushed down the lineup. We've already established that Wideman comes out when Eddy's back. There's Kovacevic left. If you bring in somebody who's on the right side who's much better and is somebody that has to play in the top 4, then Kovacevic moves, because right now he's our second pairing right defenseman.
Well, he's on the left, no?
Right.
Kovacevic is playing on the right?
Correct.
I mean, I'll take your word for it, but I thought he was on the left. Anyways, I agree. He has to be the guy, but that's
and I like his game
because he's playing very well.
Yeah, he is playing very well, but he's playing a very simple game. And what this Montreal Canadiens team needs, is a quarterback. They need a power play guy. They need a puck carrier. They need somebody that can do what we haven't seen somebody do since PK Subban and Andrei Markov. More Markov than Subban.
God, I miss Markov.
Right, so Montreal has not replaced that. They haven't found somebody to replace Andrei Markov, and I honestly think that Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon, that's what their main focus is on, besides shedding cap and some of the obvious things that we've already discussed in either this episode or previous ones. They're looking for that quarterback defenseman. That was one of the reasons why they went and acquire somebody like Barron, who's not quite ready and is in Laval and whatever the case may be there. But just to say, before we end the episode, I do want to mention one thing. That presser that Carey Price's presser this week was, I just want to say, fantastic. He showed a lot of courage, saying what he said, doing what he did, and just for anybody out there that's listening, whether we personally know each other or not, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to talk to your friends, family, or even strangers if you need to, just professionals and just anybody. It's okay. It's not a sign of weakness to when you ask for help. It's a sign of strength. For
Absolutely well said, sir.
I want to end the episode here. Matt, good job. Everybody else, please follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. You can also catch us on Instagram, Facebook, etc. We're pretty much available on all the social media platforms out there. At the same time, if you just want to listen instead, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, etc. And we love doing what we're doing, and we'd love to have you. Dave couldn't make it; he's battling COVID right now. So Dave, get well. For everything else, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to
get pucked.